So best possible 23 for 2024. Starting with Port Adelaide, back line, Ryan Burton, Asava Radagalia, Lockie Jones, Miles Bergman, Alir, and Dan Houston.
Yeah, obviously, Radagalia is pretty much going to be the number 2 tall, which is obviously what they've needed a bit. Alir at centre half back, still be their number 1 guy, but Radagalia is probably going to take the best forward. We've got Brandon Zerk-Thatcher coming off the bench. You could add Darcy Byrne-Jones to that mix, but he'll probably play more of a hybrid role. And, probably they come ahead of Trent McKenzie or Tom Cleary, who, the latter probably wasn't used all that often last year anyway. And Tom Jonas retired. So bit of a better back line than what Ken Hinkley's probably had over the last few years, which is obviously a big tick. All-Australian in Dan Houston, Miles Bergman. Really exciting young halfback wing option for them. Just gives them plenty of run and can play a bit tall as well. Like he did a great job on Jeremy Cameron earlier this year. Ryan Burton, a nice little dashing defender, can play some lockdown roles as well. And then Lockie Jones, that big-bodied presence down back. He might not be a starter. Like they've certainly got a few options to kind of use in their back line. Like Kane Farrell could play maybe across halfback. As mentioned, Darcy Byrne-Jones is another one for them to consider, but it's a better back line than what they've had, and that's obviously going to be really important after kind of falling short this year.
Yeah, they put a lot of work into that in the off-season. So coming through to the midfield, so Ivan Soldo as the main man in the ruck, and then at his feet, Zach Butters, Connor Rozee, and Willem Drew, and then on the wings, Ollie Wines and Kane Farrell.
Yeah, pretty good group. Yeah. Obviously, we kind of got to see Zach Butters be the standout, which I don't think many kind of saw coming. Connor Rozee is, I think, now a 2-time All-Australian and has, often been positioned as a forward. Butters similar over their first few years, but this is really that 2018 crop's really the group that they knew were going to be leading. Now that maybe Travis Boak maybe as a sub, Ollie Wines probably not getting as many minutes in there, and then the obviously recruitment of Jason Horne-Francis is pretty significant in how this midfield takes shape. So you think long-term Butters, Rozee and Horne-Francis is your 1, 2, 3, and that pretty much could be it from next year anyway. But you think Wines gets a good run. Willem Drew is that more defensive-minded midfielder. Kane Farrell on the wing. As mentioned before, Darcy Byrne-Jones can play on the wing. Lockie Jones can play on the wing. And then Travis Boak, how much of a look he gets next year is going to be quite interesting. But it's a pretty stellar midfield group, and they've kind of also, brought in Soldo to sort their kind of ruck plans and get a standout first-string ruckman. I think Jordan Sweet, you can't rule him out in being a chance to start round 1. I think those two are going to be very tight in competition, but at least they've kind of got someone with some decent experience coming into the club and another who's going to be championing at the bit to make his name known at the top level in Sweet. So again, probably improved from where they were this year heading into 2024.
And they wouldn't play both Soldo and Sweet in the same team?
No, like Jeremy Finlayson's there. They've got Charlie Dixon if needed. They've already got way too many tall forwards. So if they're playing 2 rucks, you can't have one sitting on the bench all the time with the amount of talls they've got. So yeah, too many chefs in the kitchen if they've kind of got an extra tall in that forward line, I think.
Yeah. So speaking of the forward line, on the half forward, we've got Jason Horne-Francis, Todd Marshall, Sam Powell-Pepper, and then Willie Rioli, Charlie Dixon, and Jeremy Finlayson, as you said. Yeah,
the talls are going to be interesting. Obviously, a lot of them don't get to play haven't played that much together this year, just given Dixon was injured a bit, Marshall the same. Add Mitch Georgiadis to that mix. He could easily be a starter early into next year after he recovers from his ACL injury. And then so between Finlayson, Dixon and Marshall, that's probably the 3 they run with. And then Ollie Lord and Mitch Georgiadis, like I said, could easily probably jump either Finlayson or Dixon by some point next year, just given where they're at in their development. So plenty of tools on offer, which is obviously really good. And then I think the other thing you're looking at is, Horne-Francis rolling forward. Butters and Rozee could still do the same if they get a break from midfield. Sam Powell-Pepper's been absolutely phenomenal for them since kind of cementing himself as a full-time small forward that throws his weight around. And then Willie Rioli, again, a good high-volume forward. And probably just wants to find some consistent footy and kind of stay on the park. Not necessarily injuries, but suspension's more his worry. And then Jed McEntee off the bench. Darcy Byrne-Jones can kind of play as a small forward role. So plenty of options, I guess you'd say, with kind of that attacking third. So there's a bit to work with there. Again, probably a similar group to what they'll have had this year. But they can only hope that Marshall and Georgiades and Lord will show a little bit more, given how young they are, and bodes well for them going forward for sure.
Yeah. So in terms of their aspirations for next year, I think out of the top, 5-6 teams this year, they did make the best acquisitions in the off season. But where do you finish? Where do you see them finishing next year?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think if I have them top 4. I think they would definitely want to be top 4, if not top 2, winning a final at least and booking themselves a prelim. But that's something they've done, 2 times in the last 4 years or so, 3 or 4 years. So, for them, it's obviously eyes on the prize and going the whole way. I probably have them maybe 4th if they're in the top 4. I think, Pies, Brisbane, 1 and 2 again, and Carlton or Sydney could make a bit of a jump. But yeah, they're probably on level, I think, maybe with the Blues and Sydney. And there'll be a few other clubs kind of pushing for that 3rd and 4th spot, but they're probably bottom side of the bottom end of the top 4.
Yeah, they feel similar to a Brisbane, where they just got so close to making the granny, and obviously this year they just made it. Can't see them winning the whole thing, but they are a strong list. So hopefully we'll see. All right, so that's the best 23 for Port Adelaide.